Hello, everyone. Welcome to another True You podcast with me, Paula Burns, wedding planner and creative business mentor. So this is a place where we have open discussions to understand who we are in order that we can live our lives to the fullest. And so every week I bring on somebody amazing to share their story with you. And this week it's a little bit different because this person and this guest that I have on she turned her life around into a profession that I would say sometimes raises eyebrows sometimes, especially when it's a woman. And so I'm not going to give too much away, but what I want to say before we get into this discussion is that if you're listening to this podcast, how you live your life is about you and your true self, and it's about what lights you up, what brings you joy, what inspires you, and it is all about you. So there is going to be, there'll be speculation here and there, and we'll get into this when we have our discussion now with this podcast, but honestly it's about your life and what you feel called to do. So I'm going to get straight into it and introduce you to my amazing guest. And she's looking at me now thinking, what is she talking about? I'm not that amazing, but absolutely you are. Because, and I say this to everyone, we are all amazing. So I'm excited to have you on my show. Welcome, Sian Thomas.
Hello, you okay?
So good to have you here. I
met
you through your sister, didn't I?
Yeah. We met many years ago, Paula.
No, many years ago. And it feels like I've, I feel as close to you, as if I know you and I see you every day, which I don't see you every day because obviously you're not local to where I am, but there's a warmth about you. And I think I think it's so special what you do, because you suit what you do so well. There's just so much warmth that comes from you. And I don't know if anybody has said that to you before.
Yes, actually, I'm blessed. A few people have said that to me. Yeah.
Very much so. So tell everyone, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a minister. I have a title now, not that I use it very often. I'm Reverend Sian Thomas.
Ooh,
yes, I know. And I am a minister in West Wales, a Baptist minister. I have 2 chapels, and I'm a chaplain of a care home in West Wales as well. So I'm very blessed.
Very blessed. Very blessed. So I know that you've got quite a story around this, because this isn't something that you've always done. It isn't something that, you grew up and thought, oh, I want to be a minister. So tell us a little bit about your role, just before we go into sort of more depth about how you got here. What does your role involve?
Well, as I said, I've got 2 chapels in my pastorate, and I'm the chaplain of the care home. So my role is I shepherd people. I look after my people. I look after them very, very much so. Actually, they're very close to my heart, which can be quite hard sometimes, because we go through the role. We lose them, and they struggle. I struggle. But I do a lot of work in schools. I do a lot of ministry in schools. I go around talking to children. I work in the community. I'm very passionate about opening the chapel doors, church doors to the wider community. I think that's I'm very strong on mission. So that's where I'm. I feel so it's all about selling myself and selling my chapels and the work we do. So I
feel like a role like yours, and I think it's similar to, say, somebody in the health industry as well, that you can take on so much, when you, in terms of emotional and feelings, and yes, it can sort of really take you over, because especially if you are a warm person like you are, you know, it's easy to sort of feel the challenges and the all the hardships as well as the happiness. You know, both. You know, it's not just all about hardships, it's about you know, wonderful times as well.
And that's the thing, especially as you say, with the work and the people who do similar work with health and carers as such in care homes and things. You're with your people all the time. You're attached to them.
Yeah.
You I cry with them, I laugh with them. It's not maybe very professional sometimes, you know. I've been in homes where there's been a loss, a sudden loss, and I sit and I weep with them. You know, maybe I shouldn't, but I do, and it's part of who I am. And so but as I say, I love my work. Not that I call it work. But people who know me for many years that you don't actually do anything, do you? I say no, I just live my life now, and I just
exactly. You know, how can you call it work? Or it's not a job, is it, really?
No. Oh no,
it's a
24/7, Paula.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sian, tell us a little bit about your childhood, because I love to ask this question because it helps us all understand how our childhood may have shaped or sparked something in us to move us into the direction that we are living our lives now. And for you, you know, I know this was a big step, because we'll talk about your journey as well, and how you got here. But what was your childhood like? And is there sort of parts of your childhood that you can think to yourself, well, actually, you know what, this was probably in me for a very long time?
Very normal childhood, very, you know, I don't come from any privileged background, you know that, Paula. A mother and father, chapel goers, my mother and father. I went to Sunday school, which is part of the Welsh culture in my area. You know, we usually go to a Sunday school.
I grew up going to Sunday school as well, you know. So.
But my parents were very ordinary. I've had people tell me, well, I never have thought that Anne and Vernon would have a minister as a daughter, because they if anybody who knew my parents, they were quite big characters, and they were full of life, and they would speak their mind, and they wouldn't hold back. And I have 4 siblings, two sisters and 2 brothers, and very different to me. All of them were all very, very different. I went to Welsh speaking primary schools, but as you say, I've always been a performer. I've always, with the Welsh culture, we have the Eisteddfod.
Right.
And I've competed in the Eisteddfod since I was very, very young. So I've always been comfortable public speaking, standing on stage, with the young farmers and the Aelwyd with the Urdd. We did public speaking and acting and singing. So I've always had that a part of me. I've always been quite happy to stand on stage and perform, although I'm not many people don't believe me when I'm very, very insecure, and I get very, very nervous.
This is the thing, I say it with everyone who goes on the stage and is in the public eye. We are all quiet people. We are all introverts. You know, I say it all the time, and nobody believes me either.
No, and then I went to so in secondary school, I was never very academic. I loved school, but for the very wrong reasons of friends and socializing and loving life. And I went to Pembrokeshire College to do performing arts. And I loved it. But again, there, I loved the backstage side of it. I loved being a stage manager. I was a stage manager for quite big things in the Eisteddfod. And then I met my husband when I was 17.
Yeah.
And
Very young.
and I didn't go, because I was going to go to university, but then I met my husband, I fell in love, I got engaged when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was married when I was 23 and had children quite young, and they're both grown up now. They're young men now, 19 and 18.
Yeah.
But, so how can I say, I don't know if I was prepared for it, but I've always been in work, or in everything I do, it's been about people. If you know what I mean. I worked in a chip shop for many years, and I was always the one in the front, serving the people, talking to everyone. So everything I've done has always been about communicating with people.
Yes.
And I think that's prepared me for my work now, because I can talk to all ages. I do nursery talks, and I preach to my elderly residents in the care home, and I love every aspect and every kind of people.
Oh my goodness, do you know what you say in that? I say this to my mentees all the time, in terms of, what their life is now or what their life was before. I always get them to think about what were your experiences, because I think it's a really important thing to do, because we forget about the experience that we gained all those years ago, and we just think about now, and we think about what we're doing now, and a lot of the times my mentees, they think about, the businesses they're doing now, and they say, well, okay, I'm quite new in business, or, I don't have all of this experience that I can share. And I start then getting them to think about their past. What did you do? It's like you sharing that about, you were always a people person, and you could connect with people. You knew that was something that was a strength for you. So you doing the job that you do is not a surprise, but then it would be a surprise to other people, because they'd be like, oh, okay, it's the actual thing that you're doing. But from the experience wise and what lit you up as an individual, it was a people thing. It was always about people and connecting with people. So,
and I worked, I moved when the boys were young. I went to work in a primary school, and I worked there for 20 years. And as a person of faith, I've reflected on it a lot. And as a person of faith, I understand maybe not everybody who will be listening to the podcasts are people of faith, but I truly believe I have been prepared from a very young age to be where I am now.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. As you say to your mentees, everything you've done is a building block to where you are now.
Absolutely.
And I truly believe that I have been prepared to for where I am now.
Absolutely. I have a strong belief as well. And, and some people, even if they don't have that faith, I've heard people say it, but I know that I strongly believe that you walk a path, and we all have a journey to a place to be. We all have a role to play, and yes, we're learning every single day. It's all little steps that gets us there. And so sometimes we're in a certain situation and we feel like, oh, what are we here for? I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing so, but it's your preparation. It's your foundation. It's where you prepare for that bigger thing or that area that you're supposed to be. So I like that you sharing that about all the experiences that you've had. And so you've touched on the fact of your journey a little bit of what you did then. So tell us about the jobs that you did before you became a minister.
Oh gosh, I had many.
Did you do a lot of jobs?
So, the main one, I think the two main ones, quite random maybe, were working in a chip shop, which is very strange. People say to me, oh, how can you connect that to what you do now? I said, well, my boss, she was lovely, but she pushed me and she worked as hard. And as you say, communicating with people, and you're working long hours, and then the work in the school, I suppose, is the main one. Working with children, communicating with young people. And I think I worked there for 20 years. And I worked especially with children who had you know, learning difficulties, and I ran a nurture group for a short time. I'm not sure if people are aware, nurture groups are where schools open up these safe spaces for children who struggle in school, not academically, but who just have a tough time in school. So the nurture group is a safe place where they can come and reflect and sit, and we eat with them. We commune around a table and have some toast and tea, and they, you know, so I did a lot of that when I was in the primary school as well. And I was an emotional learning support assistant for about 2 years before I left, which was really good. And I think that, again, another little building block to what I'm doing now.
Of what you did. All of that. So 2 main jobs that you did that led you to this place.
Very different jobs, mate.
Very different jobs. But I can totally see how the chip shop was a building block for you. I can see it. But it's not something that a lot of people will see, but it definitely was.
No, and it's quite a well-known chip shop in our area, and people come to me now and say, "Oh, I remember you from working in the chip shop," and it opens up a conversation.
Good conversation opener.
Yeah, because we had hundreds of people coming in every week, you know, and people would recognize me from there, and they say, "Oh, you," and it's just a way of opening up a conversation, and
okay, so how did you come to think, I want to be a minister? That's what I want to know. So what was I'm interested, I'm sure everybody who's listening is interested in hearing, what were the catalysts? What were the little steps that sort of got you to this place where you thought, oh, I want to be a minister? So were you a teacher before being a minister?
Sorry?
Were you a teacher then before the minister?
I was a teaching assistant, I was a teaching assistant.
So that was the immediate thing before you started? So
while I was training, I was, when the boys were little, we used to go to chapel. We were chapel goers. My father-in-law was a minister. And we used to go to chapel, not regular, I'll be honest. We used to, you know, I've always had a faith. But when the boys were little, I wanted them to go to Sunday school. So we moved them to the local Sunday school in our village. And from there, they asked me to start teaching the Sunday school. Okay, so I started creating services with the children, me and another lady, and you know, I started sharing some little messages, and I used to go to chapel on Sunday, and I used to have this feeling, I don't know, it wasn't like a flash of light calling, it was more of an uneasy feeling. And it was, and I was thinking to myself, oh, there's something wrong, I'm not in where I'm supposed to be. And I went to this service in Cardigan, and there was this minister called John William Jones. He's quite a well-known man in Welsh culture. He's a poet, he's a minister, he's very well, he used to be the archdruid in the Eisteddfod. Now, anybody who doesn't know Eisteddfods, if I say druid, you think we've lost the plot, people wearing sheets, but he was the archdruid, and he's very, very well known. And he preached a sermon about being lost. And everybody has a sat nav, and everybody needs to find the right address in the sat nav. And I went outside, and I said to my husband, I said, you know, there's something not right. I feel, it wasn't a lost feeling, it's just, oh, something's not right. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm doing what I need to be doing. So I tried a few things. I helped out in the community I helped out at the food festival, running the food festival for a year, and I did different things, and just nothing was right. And I just sat in my chapel one day, and I heard my minister preaching the same sermon, very similar. And I was thinking, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk to my husband. I went to speak to my minister. I said, I got a feeling I need to go into the ministry. And he said, let's go and pray on it. And we prayed on it. And in 2 weeks, it all began. It was just,
my goodness. Do you know what I like about that is where you said you have that feeling? It's like where you knew that you weren't quite at the place where you were supposed to be. And you just could feel it. You couldn't put your finger on it. But what you continue to do is to continue trying different things and putting yourself in different situations to see what then began to feel right for you.
Yeah.
And because you were in those different situations, you were then in that opportunity to hear that sermon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll be honest, Paula, it hasn't been easy.
I can imagine. I want to hear a little bit about that.
You know, as I said, I don't come from a privileged background. There's a tradition in the Welsh, especially the Welsh side of ministry, where you usually come from ministers have children who become ministers. Right. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a pattern to it.
Yes.
And or there's somebody in your family. I've looked back through our family tree. No minister, nothing. We come from a very agricultural background, or we're very working class, if I can say that. But people have said to me, I don't think it's going to work for you. I've had people say to me, you're not going to become a minister. It's not going to work for you. I've had people tell me that nobody's going to give you work. You're not going to get chapels. And, I've had people, they say that to my face, and I'm thinking, well, and I remember telling this one person, you may probably right to say, but I'm going to give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I'd say as well, other people don't have your conviction. So other people all they see is what they're viewing on the outside.
Yeah.
They don't see the feeling and the conviction that you have, or they don't feel that. And so that is the thing that pushes so many people away from what they were supposed to be doing, because they listen to the voices and the people around them saying, oh, well, that's not you. It's never going to work in a million years.
I will say my husband has been amazing. From the second I told him, and he said, all he tells me, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, that's just amazing.
He tells me all the time, you are exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
And he's so supportive. I mean, I couldn't have done it without him. There's no doubt in my mind. He is. My chapels think of us as a pair now. That's the saying is, they're getting two for the price of one.
Yeah.
Because my husband, he's so amazing. He's brilliant, But he tells me all the time, you would have done it on your own, which we might be true, because I'm quite a stubborn person.
Yeah. But it's good to have that support, though. We all have that bit of support, because we're only human.
Yeah. And he says to me, I'm not sure if I'm playing the minister's wife role very well. Because as we all know, women aren't traditionally in the minister's role. Maybe more on the Welsh side than the English side. English ministers, English chapels are struggling with the female aspect of it. I will be honest. But they're much more open on the Welsh side, which is strange, really. But that's another story, maybe, Paula.
How long did it take you to qualify as a minister?
It took me 4 years of training. I worked and trained at the same time, which was hard going, I will be honest. I've never written an essay in my life. I'll talk about ethics essays. Oh my word, they were horrendous. But so
your mindset was in the right place. You were ready for it. So even though you have to do it alongside, I mean, I did exactly the same thing. I studied for my MBA while I worked full time. So
and it took me 4 years. I was the only Baptist minister on the training on the Welsh side. So I was training with my tutor for a year, Denzel Morgan. He's amazing. But then they sent me to Cardiff Baptist College to train with the community. And it was probably the best experience of my life, really. I was working with these people from different ages who were and I felt to myself, yes, people who actually understand.
You're surrounded by people, exactly. Not
but
people pulling you down, but people supporting you.
But it was a culture shock. Because they didn't know about Welsh hymns, and the things we did and they did were very different, but I learned so much, and I'm still very good friends with many of them. It's the best experience of my life, without a doubt. And in Richmond Road, Paula, where my sister used to live.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes, Baptist College is in Richmond Road.
Really? Gosh, you wouldn't even,
Yes.
honestly. Unless you speak to people from different professions, you don't realise what's out there. Or where things are, and what do they actually do? How do you train?
Richmond
Road,
I know. Richmond Road in Cardiff. I sent a picture of Richmond Road to Suzanne when I went for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how life goes round in circles, eh?
I know.
Did you feel like, especially when you were doing this studying, or even before that, because you've mentioned and you've touched on the fact that you felt that you were out of sorts, that it didn't feel like you were doing what you should have been doing. But was there a time in your life where you felt like you lost your way?
I think around the time I lost my mother, I think that was hard. It was about 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
And the boys were young and I was working, and I just felt fed up. I put a lot of weight on.
Yeah.
And that was a tough time. But again, my husband, my family been amazing. So I got through day by day, just the general routine of life. But losing my mother is probably one of the hardest things, yeah. And I got a bit lost then. But I didn't lose my faith. I think my faith carried me through.
That's your foundation.
Oh gosh, yeah. If I had, I don't think I would have got through without my community in the chapel and my minister. Yeah.
And that was, so was that, okay, so and that was before you got into the ministry,
Yeah. I was just a general chapel goer then, and the boys were little, going to Sunday school, and I was going every Sunday, and I'm going to prayer services on a Thursday night.
Okay, how long have you been a minister?
I was ordained October 2nd, 2021. Best, it was amazing. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah,
I bet the feeling.
It's all about me, Paula.
I know. What's the feeling like for you? How does it feel? Especially because you knew that you had to go through all those struggles, and everybody's saying the negative stuff. I mean, how does it feel for you?
I still drive in my car, and I think to myself, is this really my life?
Yeah.
It's still a very surreal moment, because I'm not sure if your listeners are aware, when you are in training, you are on a list.
Right.
And you are on a list to be matched up with different chapels who are looking for ministers.
Okay.
And it's up to you to work with these chapels to get a calling. So that was a year of my life. The last year of my training was, am I going to be called to a chapel? Is anybody, will anybody want me? And it's a very, very, very strange feeling. It's like I think I was comparing myself to a dog in a rescue home, thinking, is anybody going to want me?
So is there enough chapels around though? How does that work?
Yeah.
Are you only looking in your area?
Well, that's the thing. When I started training, I said to myself, I'm not going to stay in my area, because everybody knows me as Sian and they're not going to know me as the minister.
Yeah.
And the relationship would be very different. But then I spoke to one of my tutors, Rosa Hunt, Dr. Rosa Hunt. She is, well, an amazing woman. She's a minister in Cardiff, and she said to me, Sian, your strength is you know the people in your area.
Yeah.
You know the culture, because we have a very unique culture in West Wales.
Yeah.
You know the culture, you know your people. That is one of your strengths. Use it. And from then on, I went, okay, this feeling of I need to move away to be a minister went away for a while. So I wanted to stay local. But then, as you say, Paula, the situation we have in churches and chapels at the moment, congregations are going down. Yeah. So that worry was on me, but then I'm happy to say a few chapels wanted me. So it was, people wanted me to come, and I had to go and preach on probation. So people were listening to me preach and saying then if they wanted me or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm glad to say a few people wanted me. So it was up to me then to decide where I wanted to go then. So the decision was in my court then, which was amazing because I was worried nobody'd want me.
And it's that feeling that you're putting.
Oh gosh, it's horrendous.
Do you think that probably what you were doing when you were saying like going out to a different area is that you're sort of running away from that, you know, maybe negativity that you might get in the area? Maybe deep down that's what you're doing.
And trying to say to yourself, well, you know, if I build this wall around saying, well, I'm going to move away, and if I was rejected in my area, I wouldn't feel too bad.
Yes.
But
yeah, so you're sort of like putting that padding around yourself, which we tend to do. We want to protect ourselves from more hurt and more, you know.
Because and I suppose because people know me in this area, I was thinking, well, if I go away, they don't know me. So if they, you know, if people in this area say, well, we don't want Chanel in as a minister, it's a horrible feeling. But no, I'm glad to say because they knew me before. I was worried they wouldn't want me now, but no, it worked out.
Because that's what I was going to ask in terms of, you know, how scary was it? Because I think you sort of like shared that a little bit, but how scary was it? Did you ever feel at a time that you might have wanted to give up because things were maybe a bit too challenging and hard with the feedback that you were getting from other people?
No.
Right.
No. I'll be honest, maybe that sounds a bit, but it never crossed my mind to give up. I was, pretty much, this is what I'm doing. It might not work, but I'm doing it.
When you find your place, when you find your place, you know.
From the minute I stood, my very first sermon was Mary and Martha. I remember it well, and I stood in that pulpit, and I did my first sermon, and I went home, and I said to Dylan, I said to my husband, I said, I think that went okay. And he said, oh my word, Chanel, you have found where you need to be. And I said to him, do you know what? I think I have. Because you have to do those, you have to preach a few sermons to a few people before you even get to go training. They test your call, they test your call, they test who you are, what kind of person you are before you're even put on training. You go through a lot of interviews. And you have to preach in front of 4 different ministers, and they write letters of approval. So from the minute I stood in that pulpit and preached, I was like, I love this, I'm doing this forever.
I absolutely love that you said that, because I was exactly the same when I got into the events industry. I remember standing there at the end of my very first event, which was a charity event, and I absolutely loved the feeling of just bringing people together, having that celebration atmosphere, and just giving people the chance to connect and be together and give them that special experience. And I just loved it. And you know when you're there, you know when you're in that space, and equally, you know when you're not. Like you said, you know, you feel uneasy, you feel like I'm not doing my thing. So.
But I can't say I never, in my work in the school, I can never say I was really unhappy.
No, you're not unhappy.
I wasn't. No, it's just, no, I'm not. No, I know it was good work when I was bringing up the children. The childcare was easy. I didn't have to worry about that. So it was good for that time. You know what I mean? Again,
timing is everything.
Timing. The boys have grown up now, and they, so
I bet they're really proud of you as well, the boys.
Well, actually, they are. My oldest son, year 1, he questions his faith, and shall we say he's not a believer. Well, he says he isn't. But Stefan, I baptized Stefan, my son, back in July. Probably the most. Oh gosh, I was a wreck. I was an emotional wreck all day. But no, they are. But he once says to me, "Oh, Mum, stop bragging, will you?" And I said, "I'm not bragging."
why not brag? You've achieved amazing things, you know.
Well,
so.
you know, I have, and it's been so amazing. I've had so many opportunities since I've become a minister. Wednesday, I was filming for an S4C program.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm writing a column in the Welsh Baptist newspaper. I've written, you know, so
opportunity.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And again, for anyone listening, when you are in the place that you're supposed to be, the opportunities will come. They'll find you. You won't have to search for them. The opportunities will come. And so
and
that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And I because I use a lot of social media. You know that, Paula, you've seen me on social media. But it's, and you know, the ministers have said, oh gosh, why are you on Facebook and why are you on Twitter? I said, well, it shows that we are doing something. Yeah. And because of that, something positive is coming out of it. You know, people say, oh, I saw you on Facebook doing this. And again, it's an opportunity to, they ask me questions then, and they say, what do we, you know,
you have
social media is such a good tool.
You have to be in the arena where people can find you, and that's what social media is, that arena. Mm-hmm. So you can't hide from it. So so you're doing exactly the right thing. Sian, I'm loving this chat, but we're going to have to come to a close. But
really, oh gosh, it's gone quick.
I know, but we're not finished yet. I've got some quick fire questions. I call them quick fire, but you know, I may ask you to give a bit more info on them. But I've got a few questions to ask you to finish things off. So my first one is, what makes you? Do you know what makes you truly happy?
My family, obviously, and sharing is probably a bit corny and a bit cheesy, but just showing God's love to everyone really makes me happy. Yeah, being open and showing people that, you know, and even Christians or not, just being there for people,
just having that warmth and giving that warmth, sharing that warmth. Yeah. Okay, and I think I know the answer to this because you've used it throughout our chats, but how are you at getting still to feel emotion? I mean, in terms of being still enough mentally that you understand that you need to move in this direction or that direction.
Well, every morning I try and sit, I listen to some music, and I listen to God, and I pray, and I go on instinct more than anything. Yeah. I run on instinct. And if I feel I need to be somewhere,
I think that's a big part of a minister's role, to be still and to feel. What
I'm not very good at being still, mind.
No. But mind-wise, being still.
Oh yes, yeah.
I know. It's so hard for us. We're always doing something, aren't we? Have you found your tribe?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. People, I have so many friends. I have friends who don't go to chapel. I have friends who are ministers. I have family. I tell you, I am surrounded by so many people I love, and I know they love me as well. So I am,
so important.
I know. I'm probably I'm probably one of the luckiest people I know, because I just, I'm gonna get emotional now, Paula, don't I?
Oh, do you know what? Oh, I'm one of these people that I don't think there's anything such thing as luck. I think we find our people, we find our space and our place because we keep taking the steps. And but and you are.
I say to my sons, because my sons, and I say, if somebody says something to me, do you want to do this? I always say yes. Very rare I say no, and to my detriment, maybe I'm quite busy, but I always say
what something's going to lead you to, do you?
Exactly. If somebody says, do you want to do this or do you want to do that, and you think, I'm going to do that,
It is all about
and through that,
to saying yes to opportunities, because again, you know, a lot of people can say, oh, well, you know, nothing exciting ever happens in my life, you know, I don't get any opportunities, I don't get any. Well, yes, they're all out there, and probably they were presented, but you say, oh no, I'm a bit scared, I'm not doing that. Or I don't want to. And you have to keep moving, you have to keep trying different things to see where it's going to lead you.
And then through that you build your tribe. Then
absolutely,
you build your community, because you know, I make the work I do, I make new friends, I meet new people daily.
Absolutely.
And through that, you never know who you're going to meet, who will come across your path. It's just,
that's the beauty of life. I love the fact that you just don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next.
But it's a rough ride though, because with everything good that happens, you know, you have to be prepared that there are going to be
exactly. So my final question to you is, do you love yourself unconditionally?
Oh, that's a hard one. For the most part, but I am a very insecure person. I do. I love myself. I love my life, but then I do question it. I do question myself often. Am I good enough? Is a very big question for myself. I ask myself. I ask myself that all the time, Paula. Am I good enough?
And in a way, that's not such a bad thing in terms of, you know, just pushing yourself to be better, and just reflecting, because that's a form of reflection, really. Am I acting in the way that I should? Am I walking in the direction that I should? More of a reflection. But if we use it as a skill to beat ourselves with, that's different.
Oh no. I don't do that. I think, as you say, it's a good thing, because I'm constantly going, gosh, am I doing good enough? And it drives me then to do better, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. But not
if you're sitting there going, I'm amazing, I'm doing everything brilliantly, you're never going to try and push yourself then. And
you'll never grow either.
No, it's very true. Yeah.
I know. Sian, it has been absolute joy talking to you on this podcast. What were you going to say then?
I was just thinking, I was surprised when people say to me, oh, I enjoy talking to you. Am I that interesting? I don't think so.
You definitely are. And I'm sure there's people who will be listening to this podcast and feel inspired by you. And they may be thinking about totally changing the direction of where they're going with their life. You know, obviously, it might not be to be a minister, but it could be something completely different from what they're doing now, that they're feeling, you know, sort of anxious about, or, you know, unsure. But to hear your story, that helps to inspire them. And so thank you so much for being on the podcast with me.
Thank you very much, Paula. It's been amazing.
Oh,
I just like to say, Paula, I love you so much. And I think I all remember the days you were in our house when I was little, and I always looked up to you, and you were amazing. And I remember doing a flash dance to you as well, and I was little. Choreographed flash dance.
Oh, Sian Ellen, as I knew you. Everybody called her Sian Ellen. But yeah, I honestly thank you for that, and you know, that inspires me when people say that to me, that when they've met me and they remember, you know, and the changes that I make for them in their life, and I love that. So
I know, I just to say, I get that now. People say to me, oh gosh, I'm so, you know, you're an inspiration to my daughters, I want them to look up to you. And I go, really? But you know, it's so lovely, isn't it? When
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So and to everyone else listening to this podcast, thank you for listening. I will be back next week with another amazing guest, but in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye everyone.